What happens when a beloved morning show host tries to ask fair questions and gets attacked on live television? In just 36 seconds, one royal guest went from composed to completely unhinged, turning a simple interview into one of the most shocking moments in morning television history. It was supposed to be a friendly chat. Michael Strahan, the Good Morning America host known for his warm smile and genuine curiosity, sat across from Prince Harry in the studio. The cameras were rolling. Millions of viewers were watching at home, sipping their coffee, expecting nothing more than the usual promotional interview. But what they got instead was something nobody could have predicted. Michael started off the way he always does, friendly and welcoming. "Prince Harry, thanks so much for joining us this morning. It's great to have you here." His tone was genuine, his smile authentic. This was the Michael Strahan that America had come to love. The former football star turned morning television anchor who made everyone feel comfortable. Prince Harry nodded, settling into his chair. "Thanks for having me, Michael." His voice was polite enough, but there was something in his eyes, something tense, like he was already braced for battle. Michael dove into the first question, keeping it light. "So you've been spending more time in California. How are you and your family adjusting to life there?" It was an easy question, a softball, the kind of gentle opener that guests usually appreciate. But Harry's response was clipped. "We're doing fine. We're happy. We're living our truth." The words came out fast, almost defensive, even though Michael hadn't challenged anything yet. Michael, ever the professional, kept his smile in place. "That's wonderful. I know a lot of people are curious about your decision to step back from royal duties. Can you talk a bit about what led to that choice?" And that's when the temperature in the room started to shift. Harry leaned forward slightly, his jaw tight. "You know, Michael, I've answered this question 100 times. Maybe people should actually listen instead of asking the same thing over and over." The studio went quiet. You could feel the tension through the screen. Michael's smile faltered for just a second before he recovered. "I understand, and I appreciate that. But for viewers who might not have heard your perspective before, could you share a bit about it?" Harry let out a sharp breath through his nose. "That's the problem, though, isn't it? The media twists everything. They take what we say, and they spin it into something completely different. That's why we left in the first place. The constant intrusion, the lies, the manufactured drama." Michael nodded slowly, trying to keep things on track. "I hear you, and I think that's a valid concern. But we're here to let you tell your story in your own words. This is your chance to set the record straight." "Set the record straight?" Harry's voice rose slightly. "Michael, with all due respect, that's what I've been trying to do for years. And every time I do, people like you keep digging, keep pushing, keep trying to find some scandal or controversy." The accusation hung in the air. "People like you." Michael's expression remained calm, but you could see the shift in his posture. He was still professional, still composed, but now he was also on guard. "I don't think that's fair, Harry. I'm simply asking questions that a lot of people want answers to. That's my job as a journalist." "Your job," Harry repeated, his voice dripping with something between sarcasm and contempt. "Right. Your job is to sit here in your comfortable chair and interrogate people about their personal lives. Is that it?" Michael took a breath, clearly trying to de-escalate. "That's not what this is. This is a conversation. You agreed to come on the show to talk about your new projects, your life, and yes, some of the big decisions you've made. Nobody's interrogating anyone." But Harry wasn't backing down. If anything, he was ramping up. "You say that, but I can see where this is going. You want me to talk about my family, about the institution, about all the painful stuff. You want me to relive trauma on national television for ratings." "That's not true," Michael said firmly, his voice still steady, but with an edge of steel now. "I would never ask anyone to relive trauma for ratings. But you're a public figure who's made very public statements about your life. People are naturally curious. That doesn't make the questions unfair." Harry laughed, but there was no humor in it. "Naturally curious. That's a nice way of saying nosy. That's a nice way of saying invasive." He shook his head. "You know what, Michael? I thought this would be different. I thought you might actually get it. But you're just like all the rest." "I'm trying to have a respectful conversation with you," Michael replied. And now his patience was clearly being tested. "But you came on this show knowing there would be questions. If you didn't want to answer them, why did you agree to be here?" "Good question," Harry shot back. "Maybe I shouldn't have come. Maybe this whole thing was a mistake." He shifted in his seat, looking like he wanted to bolt. "You sit here acting all friendly, but really you're just another media puppet doing what you're told." Michael's jaw clenched. I'm nobody's puppet, Harry. I ask questions because that's my job, but I do it with respect, and I think I've been nothing but respectful to you since you sat down. Respectful? Harry's voice climbed higher. You call this respectful? Asking me to justify my life choices? Asking me to explain why I wanted to protect my family? That's not respect, Michael. That's an ambush. An ambush? Michael's eyebrows went up. Harry, these are standard interview questions. If this feels like an ambush to you, I think that says more about your expectations than my questions. The comment landed like a slap. Harry's face flushed red. What did you just say to me? Michael held his ground. I said, these are normal questions. You're treating this like an attack when all I'm doing is my job. Your job? Harry spat the words out. You keep saying that like it's some noble thing. Your job is to make a spectacle out of people's pain. Your job is to get sound bites and headlines. Don't pretend it's anything more than that. That's incredibly unfair, Michael said, his voice harder now. I've built a career on treating people with dignity. I've interviewed thousands of people, and I've never made a spectacle out of anyone's pain. You're lashing out because you don't like being asked legitimate questions. Harry stood up abruptly, his chair scraping against the floor. Legitimate questions? Is that what you call this? You know what, Michael? You're exactly the kind of person we left England to get away from. You're part of the problem. Michael remained seated, but his expression had gone from warm and welcoming to stone-cold professional. Harry, I think you need to take a step back and think about what you're saying. You're on live television, making accusations that simply aren't true. Oh, so now I'm a liar? Harry's voice was loud now, echoing through the studio. Is that what you're saying? That I'm making this up? I'm saying you're being unfair, Michael stated clearly. I'm saying you're taking your frustrations with the media in general and directing them at me personally, and that's not right. Not right? Harry laughed again, that same bitter sound. You want to talk about what's not right? What's not right is people like you pretending to care when really you just want a story. What's not right is this whole charade. He gestured around the studio. This fake smile, this fake concern, all of it. Michael stood up now too, finally losing his calm demeanor. There's nothing fake about me, Harry. What you see is what you get. I came into this interview with good intentions, trying to give you a fair platform to speak, but instead of having a conversation, you've decided to attack me personally. Attack you? Harry's eyes widened. You think this is an attack? You have no idea what a real attack is. You sit here in your safe little studio, asking your safe little questions, and you think you understand what it's like to have your entire life torn apart by the media? I never claimed to understand your specific situation, Michael replied, his voice rising to match Harry's volume. But I do understand basic respect, and you've shown me none of it. You came on this show as a guest, and you've done nothing but insult me and my profession. Harry pointed at Michael, his finger jabbing the air. Because your profession is toxic. Because people like you make money off other people's suffering. You want me to sit here and smile and play along like everything's fine? But I'm done playing that game. Then maybe you should leave, Michael said flatly. The words dropped like a bomb. The entire studio seemed to freeze. If you think this is such a terrible place and I'm such a terrible person, then maybe you should just leave. Harry's mouth opened, then closed. He looked genuinely shocked, like he hadn't expected Michael to stand up to him. Excuse me? You heard me, Michael said, his voice steady and firm. You've spent this entire interview insulting me, insulting this show, and insulting everyone who works here. You clearly don't want to be here, so maybe it's best if you go. You're kicking me out? Harry's voice was incredulous. You're actually kicking me out? I'm suggesting that if you're this uncomfortable and this hostile, it might be better for everyone if we ended this now, Michael clarified. I tried to give you a fair interview. I tried to be respectful, but you've made it clear that nothing I do is going to be good enough for you. Harry took a step closer to Michael's desk, his face flushed with anger. This is unbelievable. I come here trying to share my story, and you're throwing me out because I won't play by your rules? No, Michael said firmly. I'm suggesting you leave because you've been nothing but disrespectful. There's a difference between sharing your story and attacking the person trying to help you share it. Help me. Harry's laugh was harsh. You're not helping me, Michael. You're just another cog in the machine. You're just another person who wants to use me for clicks and views and whatever else. He shook his head violently. I should have known better. I should have known this would happen. The only thing that's happening here is you having a meltdown on live television? Michael said, and there was an edge to his voice now, a sharpness that hadn't been there before. I've been patient, I've been professional, but I'm not going to stand here and let you trash me when I've done nothing wrong. Nothing wrong? Harry's voice cracked. You ambushed me with questions you knew would be painful. You set me up to fail. And now you're acting like I'm the bad guy? Harry, Michael said, and now his voice had that tone of finality, that sound of someone who's completely done. I asked you basic questions about your life and your choices. If those questions feel like an ambush, that's your issue, not mine. And honestly, the way you're acting right now, I think it's pretty clear who the bad guy is in this situation. The words hung there, brutal and honest. Harry's face went from red to white. How dare you? How dare you speak to me like that? I'll speak to anyone like that when they come into my house and disrespect me, Michael shot back. Royal title or not, you don't get to treat people like garbage just because you're having a bad day. A bad day? Harry's voice was shaking now. You think this is about a bad day? This is about years of harassment, years of lies, years of having every single thing I do picked apart by people like you. I am not those people, Michael insisted, his voice strong and clear. I am not the tabloids. I am not the paparazzi. I am not whoever hurt you before. I'm Michael Strahan, and I was trying to do my job with kindness and respect, but you walked in here with a chip on your shoulder, and you've been looking for a fight from the start. I wasn't looking for a fight, Harry protested, but his voice had lost some of its conviction. Really? Michael crossed his arms. Because from where I'm standing, you started getting defensive the moment I asked my second question. You came in here expecting the worst, and so that's what you found, even though it wasn't there. Harry opened his mouth to respond, then closed it again. For a moment, just a brief moment, he looked uncertain, like maybe, just maybe, Michael's words were getting through, but then his face hardened again. You know what? Fine. I'll leave. I don't need this. I don't need you. I don't need any of this. That's your choice, Michael said quietly. But before you go, I want you to know something. I respect what you've been through. I respect your desire for privacy and your need to protect your family. But respect goes both ways, Harry, and you didn't show me any today. Harry grabbed his microphone and yanked it off, the wire pulling free with a sharp crack. Save the lecture, Michael. I've heard enough. He tossed the microphone onto the chair and turned toward the exit. Harry, wait, Michael called out. Not because he wanted to continue the interview, but because there was still a shred of professionalism in him that wanted to end things properly. But Harry didn't wait. He didn't even look back. This is exactly what I'm talking about, Harry shouted over his shoulder as he stormed toward the studio doors. You people act like you're entitled to every part of my life. You act like I owe you something. Well, I don't owe you anything. Michael stood there, watching Harry's retreat, his expression a mixture of frustration and disbelief. I never said you owed me anything. All I asked for was a conversation. But Harry was already at the door, pushing it open with more force than necessary. You want a conversation? Try listening for once instead of just waiting for your turn to ask the next invasive question. The door slammed behind him with a bang that echoed through the studio. Michael stood there for a long moment, the camera still rolling, capturing his stunned expression. He ran a hand over his face, took a deep breath, and then turned to face the camera directly. His smile was gone, replaced by something more genuine, something raw. Well, he said, his voice measured and calm despite everything that had just happened. That was unexpected. He paused, choosing his words carefully. I want to be clear with everyone watching. I had no intention of making Prince Harry uncomfortable. I asked questions that I thought were fair, questions that I thought would give him a chance to share his perspective. But clearly, he felt differently. He shook his head slowly. I've been doing this job for a long time, and I've learned that you can't control how people react. All you can do is treat them with respect and hope they do the same. Today, that didn't happen, and I'm sorry you all had to witness that. Michael looked down at his desk, at the empty chair across from him where Harry had been sitting just minutes before. I think sometimes people carry so much hurt and anger that they see enemies everywhere, even when there aren't any. And maybe that's what happened here. Maybe Harry's been through so much that he couldn't see. I was trying to help him, not hurt him. He looked back up at the camera, and now there was something like sadness in his eyes. But you know what? I can't make someone trust me if they've already decided not to. I can't have a conversation with someone who's already decided I'm a villain. All I can do is be honest about what happened here and let you all draw your own conclusions." Michael picked up the microphone that Harry had thrown down, holding it carefully. "I hope Prince Harry finds the peace he's looking for. I really do. Because carrying around that much anger, that much defensiveness, it's exhausting. And it makes it impossible to connect with people, even people who genuinely want to hear what you have to say." He set the microphone down gently and straightened his papers. "We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll continue with the rest of our show, because that's what we do here. We keep going, no matter what." He paused one more time. "Thank you all for understanding and for being part of this moment with us, even though it wasn't the moment any of us expected." The camera pulled back slowly, showing Michael sitting alone at the desk, the empty chair, a stark reminder of what had just transpired. And in homes across America, millions of viewers sat in their own stunned silence, trying to process what they'd just witnessed. It wasn't supposed to go this way. It was supposed to be a simple interview, a friendly conversation between a gracious host and a royal guest. Instead, it became a masterclass in how quickly things can fall apart when someone walks in already convinced they're under attack. Michael Strahan had done everything right. He'd been warm, welcoming, and professional. He'd asked fair questions and tried to create a safe space for honest conversation. But sometimes, no matter how good your intentions are, you can't break through someone else's walls. Sometimes, people are so convinced of their own narrative that they can't see anything else. And so the interview ended not with insights or understanding, but with a slammed door and a shocked silence. It ended with a host standing his ground and a guest storming off, unable to handle even the most basic scrutiny. It ended with millions of people watching at home, wondering what had just happened and why it had to happen at all. Because in those 36 seconds when everything fell apart, when Harry went from defensive to hostile to outright aggressive, the truth became crystal clear. This wasn't about the questions. It wasn't about the media. It wasn't even really about Michael Strahan. This was about someone who had built such high walls around himself that he couldn't let anyone in. Not even someone trying to help. Michael had offered Harry a platform, a chance to be heard, a moment to share his truth without judgment, and Harry had responded by tearing it all down, by attacking the very person trying to give him that opportunity. It was sad, really. Sad and unnecessary and completely avoidable. But that's what happened when wounded people mistake kindness for manipulation, when they see danger in every question and malice in every smile. That's what happened when someone decided before even sitting down that they were going to be a victim, no matter what actually occurred. And Michael handled it with grace. He defended himself when he needed to, stood his ground when he had to, but never stooped to Harry's level. He remained professional even when professionalism wasn't returned. He stayed calm even when chaos erupted around him. That's what real character looks like. That's what actual strength is. The viewers at home saw it all. They saw who kept their composure and who lost it. They saw who tried to have a conversation and who refused to engage. They saw who was reasonable and who was not. And in the end, that's what mattered. Because when the dust settled and the studio lights dimmed and the camera stopped rolling, one thing was abundantly clear. Michael Strahan had done his job with integrity and respect, while his guest had done everything in his power to undermine that. One person had shown up ready to connect, while the other had shown up ready to combat. It was supposed to be a simple morning show interview. Instead, it became a moment that revealed character, exposed wounds, and showed the world exactly what happens when entitlement meets professionalism. And in that collision, only one person walked away with their dignity intact. Only one person showed the viewers at home what it truly means to handle pressure with grace. That person was Michael Strahan. And that's why, despite the chaos and the accusations and the dramatic exit, he remained standing tall, a professional to his core, while his guest stormed off into infamy, having proven all by himself exactly what everyone watching had just witnessed, that sometimes the person demanding the most respect is the one least capable of giving it.